set up or not when you join the meeting. Sorry about that.
My apologies about that, but we are live streaming and you're good to go.
Okay, I look forward to getting host back and let's be set. Okay, thank you. All right, all right. So we got a nice sized group today, and this class doesn't require that you have any specific technology. We're going to try and help everybody understand what web browsers do and how they work. And it's more generic. It's not specific to any one particular type of web browser, but this is going to help you understand a little bit about how the internet works. Okay, so there's a difference between helping to learn about technology concepts and a web or a type of technology like a web browser, and learning how to use technology. So this is more of a class on helping you understand what it is you're doing, when you're using a web browser, as opposed to how to use a specific web browser. And some of the other guides said, let's see what the interest is in this, because I think understanding how technology works helps you understand it a little bit when you go to actually use it in the first place, I think, at least for me, not for everybody. Okay. So I think we've got most everybody here. So I'm going to do a little screenshot of my participants, and that will help me take attendance. And I'm going to move some things around. If you see me looking left and right, it's because I have a couple of different monitors on my screen, and I'm going to go through some introduction. We'll talk a little bit about web browsers today. Okay, so all about web browsers. Well, something about web browsers is probably more accurate. Always would be really challenging to say you're going to learn everything you need to know about web browsers in an hour. I tried to learn ballroom dancing, and it took me 4 years before I felt really comfortable, with ballroom dancing. So an hour of web browsers is a good start. So let's take this. Okay. I'm Bob Cohen. I'm in Seal Beach, California. And I grew up in Chicago. For those of you that have had classes with me before, I went through high school in Chicago, and my dad was a school teacher, and we would take Route 66 out every summer vacation to visit my grandmother who lived in Los Angeles. And I said to myself, I want to go to Los Angeles. Hello from Hawaii, Veronica. Good to see you. Thank you. I worked in the tech industry. I met my wife when I was 19 in college, and we were together for 43 years until she passed away a while ago. But I've been in technology and internet and training adults how to use technology my whole career. And so I've seen technology change over time. I was the kid that used to put electronic kits together with soldering irons in high school, so I was that guy, right? So, and it was a good way to start out. I mean, we did pretty well with things, most of us. So I like to make technology easier to understand. It's really frustrating for me when I see technology people start to try and explain technology to people, and they forget that that person may not have spent their whole career using it. And so it's called, in the learning business, it's called the curse of knowledge. If you know something about a topic, you probably forget what it's like not to know anything about it. And that's a real challenge. I like taking that challenge on. So we're going to learn from each other. We're going to learn a little bit about what we can do with web browsers, how they work. And there's a lot of things about web browsers that are really kind of neat, that if you understand them, will help you understand what's going on when you use the internet and the web. Because the web browser is, after email, it's probably one of the most often used tools by people on the internet. If you're joining by live stream, thank you for joining us. The best way to participate is to go to getsetup.io, and then you can participate in classes and ask questions and other things like that. So we're not paid to promote specific products. And you can request a recording. We are recording, and you can request a copy of the recording at help@getsetup.io. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda. 3 things. What are web browsers? Okay, and so hopefully you'll understand that by the time I'm done today. Common features that all web browsers have. And why are some things common, and why are some things different? And we'll take a look at differences between web browsers and why one may be better for you. I'm going to try and give you some help in choosing. You may have a favorite already. So raise your hand if you're using Google Chrome. Okay, anybody using Google Chrome? Okay, who's using Safari on a Mac? Okay, anybody using Safari? Okay, anybody using Microsoft Edge? That's the one that comes with Windows 10. And how many of you have iPhones, and how many of you have Android phones? Okay. In case you are wondering why sometimes technology seems challenging, is that you are probably buying products from several different companies. And in the information technology industry, there is a job called a systems integrator. And the job of a systems integrator is to make technology from one company work with technology from another company. And unfortunately, you probably are a systems integrator, even though you didn't want to be. If you have a Windows computer and an iPhone, you're integrating a Microsoft operating system, Windows 10, with an Apple technology called an iPhone. And some things will work together okay, and some things don't. Okay. And so understanding what you can do and what you can't do is sometimes helpful too. But guess what? Companies are in business to make money. And so they want you to do everything with them. Okay. They'd like you to say, hey, just use, but Microsoft tried to get into the mobile phone business. They spent $8 billion on Nokia years ago. And they tried to come out with a Microsoft phone. And I don't know of anybody that owns a Microsoft phone. If anybody know anyone that owns a Microsoft phone? No. Okay. It's a technology that never took off. Okay. So sometimes those things happen. All right. So the toughest question of the day, what is a web browser? Okay. A web browser, I'm going to turn on my little drawing tool because I like to draw on things while I talk about them. A web browser is an application. It's a piece of software, okay? And it does one thing. It displays web pages on your device. That's its job. If you said, hey, Bob, what's your job? Well, I teach technology. If you asked a web browser if you could talk to it and have a conversation with your web browser, hey, what do you do? Met it at a party and say, I'm a web browser, right? What do you do? I display web pages for people. That's the job of a web browser. Hey, that would be a kind of a neat party. Go as a technology, right? So some people could dress up as a web browser. Some people could dress up as an iPhone. That'd be kind of fun. I never thought of that before. You got me going here today, a little beat off the beaten track. Okay, so one web browser is usually included on your computer or your mobile device. One is already pre-installed. It's included with the operating system. And you bought that when you bought your device. Okay. What is it? Okay. What's search? Browsers do not do search. Okay. Okay. What do you mean? Well, websites do search. And a browser displays a web page called a search engine, and it will open up search tools. So that we're going to talk a little bit about this because browsers have integrated search into their toolbar, but they themselves don't actually do the search. Google and Bing are the search engines, the search websites, the search services that go out and find things on the internet. So you've got google.com, which is now owned by a company called Alphabet. Okay. But it used to be Google, and Bing, which is owned by Microsoft. So Google does about 80% of all the searches that people do in the United States, and they're worldwide. Bing does about 20% of the rest of them. They do most of the rest of them. A browser's job is to display a web page. So when you type in an address like getsetup.io or Apple or Microsoft, the browser displays the web page. Okay. Since so many people do use their browsers for search, there's a little tool area in your browser that works to help you do both things, to help use your browser for search. Any questions about search, what a browser does, what search does?
Yes.
Yeah, Joyce.
Joyce. Yeah, the reason why I joined this class is because, people would ask me, what browser are you using? What search engine? And I couldn't answer because I got it all mixed up. So now I know
it's easy to mix it up because nobody ever, did you get an instruction book when you bought your computer?
No.
And so this is all supposed to be what I like the word, the word they use is intuitive, right? This is all supposed to be so easy to use and natural and understandable. So Joyce, what do you think? You think you understand the difference between?
I think I understand better because I couldn't answer people when they asked me, what browser are you using? Could you use another browser? And I never could understand that.
Who are these people? Right? A lot of times technical support or other things like that. And so you can have a lot of things. So Mary has a great question. My laptop came with Edge, but I have Firefox installed. Do I need to get rid of one? No. You can use as many browsers as you want. A browser is an application, and you can install multiple browsers on your computer if you want to. You can install multiple browsers on your iPhone, on your Android phone, on your Mac, on your Windows PC. They're just an application, just like any other application. Their job, the web browser's job, is to display web pages to you when you use the internet. That's its job. Search engine. Go ahead, Joyce.
Is Firefox, good night. Is it a browser?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it is, Joyce. Give yourself a gold star for today. If I could send you a star, I'd give you one. Congratulations. Boy, this is exactly what this class is designed to do, is to help people understand what web browsers are and why they're different from search sites, search websites. Okay. So searches are called search engines or search websites, but it's just another website service out on the internet. Web searches are not done on your computer. They're done out on the internet in this thing somewhere called the cloud. Okay. But yes, Firefox is a web browser. It's another piece of software. You can have Firefox and Chrome and Edge and a couple of others, right? Cool. All right. Ecosia. Oh, I've heard about them, Veronica. They're kind of yeah, whenever they are a green browser. You know, you'll find specialty web browsers out there that are out there, but it's just another web browser. Okay. So you can use Firefox and Google for searching. You can use Apple Safari and Bing for searching. You have a choice of using a web browser that you like and a search site that you like for searching. Google really is the big gorilla in search. Okay, they really dominate everything in the industry. So, but Microsoft users that use Edge will typically find that they're using Bing for search. Okay,
And could I just ask another question?
sure you can.
Um, what do you think about Google trying to get into the phone business? Are they like Microsoft?
Oh boy, I
Yeah.
think I've got another slide that'll help answer that in a few slides, Joyce. Okay.
Okay.
So, but that's a good question because these are really important tools. So, what incentive does a browser get when we use them? Um, what they get is they get data about us. They get information about what we're doing on the internet. So web browsers are there, you know, they collect a lot of information about what we do on the internet, which is why everybody wants you to use their browser. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about web pages. When you go to Amazon, when you go to the getsetup.io website, when you go to Target, when you look up Wikipedia, those are all web pages, right? Okay, and they display on your screen. They are actually files that are stored on a computer. They're just like they're a file, but they're a particular kind of file. They're called HTML, which stands for, if you want to know, hypertext markup language. If you want to impress your friends and family, you can say, hey, I learned all about HTML today, right?
Oh,
But
that too.
you hear that, don't
Yes,
you?
HTML. What is that?
It is a formatting language that tells web pages how to display information. So HTML is a markup language that says, okay, put the picture in the left corner, put this text in this font, make this size. It's a formatting tool because somehow or another that web page has to understand how to display itself on your screen. It's software that does it. It's not there's not a squirrel running around in a cage that's spinning, you know, making that web page appear. It's the computer processor, and the web browser opens up the HTML file and displays it, just like if you were using a document like Microsoft Word. Some of you probably are familiar with that for word processing. You would open up a Microsoft Word file, and Microsoft Word would display the document. Web pages are HTML files, and web browsers open up HTML files. Now, the way the file gets to you is that you type in something like getsetup.io in your web browser up here, and you hit enter or return or search, and your computer sends a message out to the internet that goes searching for that location, finds it, and it comes back with a file that is a web page. Okay. And so you're constantly requesting web pages when you use your web browser, and the internet knows how to find them, and they send them back to you to be displayed on your device. Now, HTML is an industry standard. One of the things that makes the internet work is the fact that really big companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Mozilla, they make Firefox, Netflix, and over 400 more governments, organizations, nonprofits. They belong to this industry organization called the World Wide Web Consortium. It's not a dangerous organization. It's not a bunch of spies. It's just a bunch of people from industry that say, we want everybody to be able to see a web page when they go to it. And we want them all to see the same thing when they open it up. And if there were different standards, then people wouldn't be able to use it everywhere in the world the way they do now. So the industry said, let's just agree that this is how web pages are going to work. And then we can make our browsers so that they'll open up any web page that people get to. That's one thing that makes technology easier for people to use over time. There are some very well-known web browsers, okay? Chrome, Edge, Safari, and Firefox are some of the most commonly used ones. They are made by different people. Google makes the Chrome browser. Microsoft makes the Edge browser. Apple makes the Safari browser. And Firefox is what is called open source. It's made by Mozilla. Mozilla is a nonprofit organization, and people contribute free resources to make the Firefox web browser functional. Okay, so what happens? Well, when you buy a Chromebook or an Android phone, Chrome is already installed. Google makes Chromebook, they make Android. And when you buy an Android phone, it's going to have Chrome already installed on it. Okay. Sorry about that. For some reason, my mouse kind of wants to advance a slide. When you buy a Windows 10 computer, Windows 10 is made by Microsoft. They include the Edge browser as part of the operating system. When you buy a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, Apple includes the Safari web browser. So most people tend to start using the web browser that's already installed on their device, but you don't always have to. You can install other web browsers, as some people have already asked. So let's see, Linda has a question. There are some tools in Windows and Macs and other tools that will open up a specific web browser as the default browser. That's a little more, I don't know if I can show you that in this class or not, but I do go into that in Windows settings, the Windows settings class for that, but it's basically changing the default browser. The standard, if you buy a Mac, an iPhone, or iPad, that's the standard browser that comes with it. It's made by Apple, and they do make some tools that give you the ability to make it work with other devices better. But we'll take a look at Safari. It doesn't work on everything. Microsoft makes Edge, and it works on Windows 10, and it's built in. That it actually uses the Bing search engine automatically. So Microsoft makes Edge work with Bing, but you can use Google for search. Apple makes Safari, but Apple doesn't run a search site like Google or Bing. And so they let you use Google standard. Actually, Google pays Apple a bunch of money so that when people use Safari on their iPhones and iPads and Macs, it uses Google search. So that's, it's about commercial enterprise. And then Google, of course, makes sure you use Google search when you use Chrome. So you've got web browsers here. There's others out there, like we saw some environments or other things like that. Okay. There's some things, since the internet is kind of an industry standard, there's some things that are standard across all web browsers. They all have some basic functions, and then they all have some little unique little things to them. they all have this thing that uses a search or address field. Okay, when you type in a word and hit the magnifying glass or hit enter, it will search using the search engine that it connects to on the internet to find something and display pages in the screen. But it's also a place where you can type in an address for a specific website. So if you wanted to type in apple.com or microsoft.com or google.com, you could do that as well. It's a dual purpose text field. There are things called tabs. There are bookmarks or favorites, depending on which one you use for keeping track of things. There's something called reading mode. There's something called private or incognito browsing. And a lot of web browsers offer to save passwords for you. They all do those things. So they're all comparable from that standpoint, the fact they all do those things. Now, the search and address field appears in every browser. You use it all day long. You type in something and it goes and search. The browser, the company that makes the browser has already connected it to a search tool. So Safari is connected to Google search. Chrome is connected to Google search, and Edge is connected to Bing search. But you can type in Bing if you're using Safari, or you can type in Google if you're using Edge. It doesn't matter. You can use a different search website if you want to, but one is already built into connected. It's already connected in the browser software to use one. And if you want to ever clear that field, you can just, there's an X that you can use to clear it whenever you want to. Okay. Mary said she didn't like the pushy Edge, so tech got rid of it. Microsoft includes Edge in Windows 10, and so in Windows 10 updates, it might decide to reinstall it for you. So that you can always uninstall it if you want to, or you can set your default web browser to something else, no matter what you want. But sometimes applications, because Microsoft makes Windows, and whenever they update Windows, they can update whatever they might want to do. Apple makes iPhones and Macs, and so whenever they do an update, they can do whatever they want to update it. You can choose and manually change things, but some things may show up again. Okay, so tabs. Why would you want to use tabs? Well, if you ever have a file cabinet drawer and you use file folders, they have these little tabs on the top. It makes it easy for you to find things in the cabinet, doesn't it? You can go right to a tab and pull out a file. So web browsers, this is a picture I took of my web browser. I have a tab, I have another tab, I have another tab, I have another tab, and I can start a new tab. Usually there's a plus button that lets you start a new tab whenever you want to. And I can click to switch between tabs very quickly whenever I want to. So if I was searching for something on Amazon and I wanted to compare prices to Target or Walmart, I could open up 2 tabs and look at and just click really quickly to switch between one or the other. And so tabs give you the ability to quickly switch between different web pages in your browser. That's what they're for. Okay, so, well, I see Mary, the Edge software, or the browsers come with the operating system, not with the hardware. And so browsers are built into the operating system, into Windows 10. But if you have a Windows 10 laptop, it's going to be with Windows 10. Okay, so bookmarks. Bookmarks are little tools in your web browser to help you find a web page that you might go to visit frequently. Chrome and Edge use a star symbol for saving and viewing bookmarks. In your top of your web browser, there will be a star. You can see probably on my screen right here, there is a star symbol, tiny
I
one
never noticed that.
browser. If I wanted to save this, I could bookmark this tab. So it's in my bookmark list. Okay. So I can find it when I want to visit bookmarks. And at the top of your computer screen, there may be a set of menu items that you might see that will say bookmarks. But and so Google, Chrome, and Edge both use the star symbol to save web pages as bookmark. Okay. Safari is a little bit different. They use a share icon. Whenever you want to save something as a bookmark on Safari, you would click on the share icon like this. And then on your browser, you have the ability to open up a view that gives you the ability to view bookmarks if you want to, using what's called the sidebar. So you can view them. Now, one trick that people don't realize is that it's possible to open up two browser windows at the same time on your desktop. If you want to look at two web pages at the same time, you can open up a new browser window. All of the browsers allow you to do that. We'll have time to take a look at that today because we're doing pretty good. We got a smart group with us today. Okay, so what happens on mobile devices is that the world changes. Smartphones are smaller than computer screens, right? Okay. I mean, they make some pretty big smartphone screens, but most smartphones are different. So if you want to take a chance on guessing this, I have to remember what I did here too. But I took Get Setup's website and I installed Chrome, Safari, and Edge on my iPhone. And I opened up the Get Setup website on each browser. You know, boy, each browser, the web page looks pretty much the same, doesn't it? On all of them, it's got, need help, a camera, a little icon for a calendar on each of them. It's got a title. It's got an image of one of our guides. It's got classes starting shortly. So the web pages are going to look the same, pretty much no matter what device, what web browser you use. That's the whole point of that industry standard feature, is to have them all looking the same. However, navigation on your device will be a little bit different. You notice at the bottom, I'm going to use my drawing tool so to help you out here. At the bottom here, these little icons look different, don't they? Some of them are the same, like a back arrow button is in all three of them. But this one has 3 dots over here. This one has 3 dots over here. And this one doesn't have 3 dots at all. Okay, this one has a plus button in the middle. This one doesn't have it. This one has these funny icons here. This one has number 3 here. This one has 2. This doesn't have any numbers, but it has this funny little page on top of a page here. So the navigation is what's different about browsers, where you find things and how you get back to them is what makes one browser different from another. Okay. If you have a Chrome browser on your desktop, you can have a Chrome browser on your iPhone or Android phone. Chrome is available on all of the devices. Edge is available for all devices, but Safari is not available for Windows. So Safari tends to get used by people that have all Mac technology. Now, all the companies will say, oh, Safari works faster on Macs, and Microsoft will say Edge works faster on Windows, and Google will say Chrome's the best browser in the world. They're all pretty good. I mean, they all will do a lot of things, just a matter of which ones you are going to find most useful for you, and just a personal preference. Or if you want to synchronize certain information among your devices, because I remember I made you all systems integrators if you use different technology from two different companies. So how do you make different technologies work? Well, you pick technologies that work on different platforms. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I want all three web pages to look pretty much the same. So the ability to display a web page is what a browser is meant to do. That's its primary purpose, and they all do it well. Any questions about that while I take a sip? So as we get to understanding browsers a little better, maybe there's something you might want to know about security and privacy. Web browsers do a lot of tracking. Okay, that's why they all want you to use their browser. Google wants you to use Chrome because they track the websites you visit when you use Chrome. Microsoft wants you to use Edge because they track the websites you visit when you use Edge. And Apple wants you to use Safari because they do a little bit of tracking, but not quite as much as Google or Microsoft. The internet has grown up to be a free resource, but the price we pay is giving away personal information when we use the internet. Okay, so we can get we can browse the web for free, we can use Google search for free, but we're letting them track everything we do when we use it. And they use that information to help advertisers target us for advertising when we browse the web. And so that's the downside of free services that we get on the internet. Cookies are what web browsers and websites use to keep track of you. It doesn't really identify you personally. It identifies your web browser. So if you have a laptop and you go to a website, a lot of websites in California, there's a law that says that websites have to tell you if they use cookies, and most websites do. Okay, they are used for tracking and helping you log in again when you go there. So Amazon, for example, uses a cookie to help you when you go back to Amazon. It recognizes your web browser and it says, "Oh, hi, Bob, welcome back." Right? That's what a cookie is doing. It doesn't. A cookie is just a set of numbers and letters. It doesn't have any personal identifying information, but it is used to track your history as you browse the web. Sometimes a website will say this website works best if you allow cookies. You can try using a website without accepting cookies, but it's mainly used for tracking your history of what you do on the internet. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing about security and privacy is a lock. Some websites, you may notice, have a little lock to the left of their name. It means that the website is secure and encrypted. Okay, that means it uses a secure setting on the internet. And all the information you send or receive, virtually every website now, except for some small business websites, are secure. Google ranks secure websites higher in search results. So they're going to show you websites when you search for things. Say you want to look for tulips, or you're looking for soil amendment. They'll show you websites that are secure in the search results higher than ones that are not secure. but any information, like if you do banking online, and there's a class that we teach at Get Set Up about, banking. Anytime it says a secure lock like that, it means it's secure and encrypted. And it's safe to use. It would take about 20 years for somebody to break that encryption with the fastest computers that are out there. So that's a little bit about privacy and security. So what should you use? And we'll take a look at Chrome a little bit, and I'll point out a few things about Chrome, but they're all very similar. Okay, so this tells you if the web browser is available for your type of computer. Windows 10, you can install Chrome, you can use Edge, or you can use Firefox, and there are some others out there as well. But your browser has to be built to work on the operating system. Apple Macs use Chrome, Edge, Safari, or Firefox, but Safari will not work on Windows 10. Okay, Apple puts a few little whiz-bang features in Safari that make it easy for people to move from their phone to their tablet to their desktop. And so Mac users often gravitate towards Safari as the web browser, but a lot of them use Chrome as well. iPhones and iPads will let you install Chrome, Edge, Safari, and Firefox. Okay. Android users can use Chrome and Edge, but not Safari. But they can use Firefox. And Chromebooks will let you run Chrome or Firefox. Okay, so a lot depends on the mix of devices you have, because it is a little bit easier to use the same web browser. Because remember, as we looked at that mobile screen, it's not the fact that how they display the web pages, it's the navigation tools that make the difference in terms of how they work. So if you're going to learn, I mean, I'm not a big fan of learning new software all the time. And it's kind of like taking ballroom dancing. And if you've done, say, salsa, or for years and years, and then all of a sudden, somebody says, "Oh, I don't do salsa, I do swing." You got to learn all the moves all over again to start with. So learning new software it can be work. So I recommend, if you're used to using one, try and see if that one will work across all of the devices you use. But if you get some different devices, then it may or may not work. Now, these companies want you to buy more from them. So, Windows, Microsoft wants you to use Windows. And so they include Edge, and they make Edge available on everything that they can, so that you can stay with the Edge browser a lot. The Edge browser has kind of replaced their old one, which was called Internet Explorer. And believe it or not, Microsoft buys the underlying technology for their Edge browser from Google. Google makes a product that they sell to other technology companies called Chromium, and Apple buys it, and Microsoft buys it. They build their browsers based on the underlying technology. Now, that doesn't necessarily make Chrome better, but it makes it consistent for how web pages work across the internet. So it's kind of interesting how, depending on what you use. Now, so Apple wants you to use Safari, and you get so used to using Safari, and when you go to Windows 10, and you go to the Microsoft store and you say, "Well, where's Windows Safari?" It's not available. Well, what do you do? Well, you can use a different browser, but things might be a little bit different on the browser you use on your Windows 10 laptop as opposed to the browser you use on iPhone. And so Apple says, "Hey, we've got a solution for that. The next computer you buy, make it a Mac. Make it a Mac." So they're all trying to get you into their world of technology. When you use Chrome, if you have a Google account, you're automatically logged in to your Google account when you open up the Chrome browser. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't. Okay, so that's one of the privacy issues you have to ask yourself about whether you care that much about it or not, that Google knows what you're doing. How do you choose? I mean, this is just my suggestion because everybody's a little bit different. When you use the same browser on all of your devices, it's easier to synchronize things like the bookmarks you save, reading lists for reading things later, or passwords. And they're all pretty much similar in terms of performance and features. Some computer people really feel they're a lot different, but that's not necessarily the case. So if you're an Apple product user, Safari is really a pretty good way to go. It will synchronize a lot of information across all of your devices. If you use an iPhone or an iPad and Windows 10, Chrome or Edge might be ones to look at because you can't use Safari with Windows 10. And so using Chrome, you can install it, or using Edge because you can install that. If you're an Android and Windows 10 user, Chrome or Edge. And if you're an Android and Mac user, I'd probably go with Chrome. We use our phones for most of our activity on the web these days. If you think about how often do I use your computer versus how often do you use your smartphone, you're probably using your smartphone a lot more. And Apple's figured that out. I mean, they get the first Apple product people buy is typically an iPhone. And then they think, gee, maybe I should look at buying a Mac next. But you can still use web browsers on a lot of different things. They're all going to do the same thing. Okay, so let's take a few questions now that you understand all about web browsers, okay?
You want to talk or you want to chat?
Whatever, you can talk, Joyce, I can hear you.
Yeah. So how long has Apple used Chrome? Because I find that is a big win for Google.
Well, Apple, if you go to Apple's website, let me see if I can open up Safari here in another window here. Let's see, I'm going to open up Safari and I'm going to share Safari here. Okay, let me go with this. Now, Apple, Google has been paying Apple to make Chrome their search engine. So in this search box on the top here, that search box is going to, if I type a search in here, it's going to automatically use Google. That's the way Apple Macs come set up out of the box. And Google pays Apple to make Google the search engine on phones and Macs.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move.
These companies are worth billions and billions of dollars for a reason. They've got some smart people doing things, don't they?
Yeah.
So they do it. But that search box will go. Now, if I use Chrome, let me open up another Chrome window here. If I use Chrome on my computer, and this search box will automatically use Google. Okay. And here you can see tabs. So if I wanted to go to get set up, let me type in there, getsetup.io, it fills that tab. Okay. I can open up another tab and go to, say, Apple. Okay. And I can go, it'll bring up a search. Okay, so I just typed in a word. I didn't type apple.com, so it searches for Apple. Okay, I can go to another tab, so I can keep on opening up tabs. And if I wanted to save, say, get set up as a bookmark, I would go over to the right and there's this little star symbol and it says bookmark this tab. So I click on that. I can add it as a bookmark or I can add it to my reading list. A reading list is a list of websites that you might want to read about later on. So if you have an article or something like that, but I can add it as a bookmark and it asks me, where do I want to put it? Okay, so I can put it in a folder or I can put it in what's called the bookmarks bar. Okay, and then I have the ability to do something called turn on sync. If I use Chrome on my other devices and I turn on sync on all of my devices, Google will synchronize my bookmarks that I have on all of my devices. Apple does it and Microsoft does it. They all give you the ability to do that. Now, I have a view here. Let's see if I can view the toolbar, the bookmarks bar. This is the bookmarks bar. It's usually there. I took it off because I was sharing slides. I want to find out where my bookmarks are. I just click this bookmarks tab here and I can find the bookmarks and I save this, get set up in the bookmarks bar, but here's all the bookmarks that I've saved over time. So you create a bookmark by clicking the star and then you go find them by looking at the star here in the bookmarks bar. Okay. And that's one way to start doing things. Here's a reading list. So you can save something on a reading list and it'll tell you what's unread. So if you find web pages, you know, if by clicking here, I can save it as a bookmark or I can just add it to the reading list. So if I want to add this to the reading list, then I can click on the reading list and there's these 2 pages here. I can go back and read them later. All the browsers do that. All the browsers have reading lists, they have tabs, they have other tools as well. So tabs are a great resource where you can always add a new tab if you want to and keep your browser open. So there's another trick you can do as well. I'm going to share my whole desktop with you. So you're going to see the whole desktop, okay? Because I want to show you, because somebody asked a question about web browsers. So you're going to see the gallery here. I'm going to move this over to the side so it's not in our way. So here's my Google Chrome browser. The reason I know it's Chrome is because it says Chrome up on top here. Depending on what your computer you have, but usually if you go to File, I can open up a new window. What does that do? That opens up another Chrome window on my desktop. So now I have actually 2 Chrome browsers open at the same time. So if I wanted to go and do something, I could see what I have at Get Set Up. Okay. And I could see what I have, what I want to shop for at Amazon. And I can just switch between one window and another one and have them both open side by side. So for those of you that have a big enough screen, you can do that on your screen side by side. That's one reason why people get bigger screens for their computers. But no matter what size screen you have, all you have to do is go to File and go to New Window, and that will open up a new window for you. So it's a little trick to make your browser work for you, because remember, technology is supposed to work for you. You're not supposed to work for it, right? And oftentimes we end up working for our technology too much. So we have a couple of things we've covered today, haven't we? So let me find my slides here again. Okay, so what we've looked at is are all about web browsers, how web browsers work. They all pretty much do the same thing. So the major ones are all going to work for you. And so Chrome, Edge, Safari, even Firefox, they're all good, and you're not going to lose anything by using one over the other. But choosing the best one is really more a matter of what you want to use it on, because using the same browser on all of your devices will make life a little easier for you, if you want to make life easier with your technology. And you learned a little bit about security and cookies and what they do. Okay. So this was a little bit of a background on web browsers. So do you think you kind of can tell people what web browser you use now if they ask you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. That's a big relief for me, because that's the main things we wanted to make sure we could accomplish with this class, because sometimes even the Get Set Up TAs, they may ask you what browser you're using, because they might, want to, they might have a question about it, because sometimes websites do things a little bit differently in one browser than another, usually not, but sometimes that happens. And so technical support people will ask you that question. Sometimes other people will ask you, what web browser you use. And the search engines, just the website you use to go searching the internet. So you can use any browser and any search. They're independent of each other. So there's a couple of classes. I mean, we're stuck on Zoom a lot these days. And so there's a lot of Zoom classes, beginning, advanced, others on specific devices like iPads. And I encourage you to look for the classes that are geared towards your specific device. So if you have an iPad, look for iPad classes on Get Set Up. We have a number of them. If you have an iPhone, look for iPhone classes. If you have an Android, look for Android. That'll help you understand your particular device. If you have a Windows 10 laptop or desktop, we have Windows 10 classes, or Mac, we have Mac classes. That will help you understand everything a little bit better about that. So I've got some classes on buying your next Windows PC.
When is that class happening?
I honestly don't know. We haven't done it for a couple of weeks, and so I'm not sure if it's coming
Okay.
to schedule. But if you would like to see it offered again, because we have so many classes we're doing, put in the feedback, about the class, and hopefully you found the class helpful for what you wanted. Ask people to ask them to see, you want to know when that class is going to be offered. And I do a class on PowerPoint. I do classes on Windows 10. I use a lot of different technologies, and so I'm kind of neutral when it comes to certain types. Angela, thank you from the UK. Appreciate that. We have somebody from Hawaii that joined us too, I think. And you're going to get an email with links to help for Google, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox for support, so that you can learn more about that particular browser. I'm a fan of investing in learning one technology and not 4 or 5 different ones. But I'm different. I use technology in my job, and so I don't mind learning new things a little bit, but I don't know everything. So we'll go searching for the internet for things like that. For those of you that joined us from live stream, thank you for joining. For those of you that are with Get Set Up, you can always request a recording about it. And Angela, okay, so John, if you could check with Angela, she said she sent some emails. Oh, you haven't received any follow-up emails. You should get an email that comes out. I usually do it within 5 or 10 minutes after the class, and it will come to the email address you used for Get Set Up. You get and it usually includes notes from classes. Some classes may not have notes, but mine all do. So you should see it. If you don't see it, send an email to help@getsetup.io. Sometimes emails end up in the spam folder too. And that's someplace. Thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, they do end up, spam filters catch a lot of things. So sometimes you have to look in the spam folders, and things end up there. So
Bob, quick question.
hey, how are you? Good to see you.
I've been using. I'm not. I've been using 18 all my life. What operating system is Apple? Do Apple use what computer name or what does Apple use? Because I never used the Apple computer that I know of. I never used the Apple computer.
You never used Apple's Safari?
No,
Okay. Do you have an iPhone or an iPad?
no. I had an iPhone. I ain't like it.
Yeah, Safari won't work on Windows 10 or Android. So you can't even get it for those two systems. So that's one reason why you won't use Safari unless you have an Apple product. As Apple wants you to use, wants you to buy an Apple product and order, and then they give you Safari. So they're a little different that way. They don't make all of their software available on other devices. That answer your question?
Come on. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay. Well, I can you believe an hour is gone? You know, hi Rita.
Yep.
I see some familiar people. Thanks for joining me in class. Thanks for coming. And don't be afraid of, you can always learn something new about technology. It's a process.
That's right.
We go through, right? It's something like, I don't want to tell you how bad I was at ballroom dancing when I started that, but I did get pretty good at it, after a while, but it took me a couple of years before I felt really comfortable out on the dance floor. But, so it's a process. Learning technology is step by step. So hopefully this helped you learn how to do a little dog paddle and a little treading water with technology about web browsers and other things. And so you can pass that along. So thank you, Veronica. Mahalo to you too. Thank you. Appreciate that. And everyone have a great day.
Okay.
And we will see you.
And you too.
Soon. Okay. Thanks.
Excuse me, Bob.
Yeah.
What time did this begin?
This started, Rita, an hour ago.
That's it.
It started an hour ago. And so we started it at 10:30 Pacific time. What time zone are you in?
Eastern.
1:30. 1:30
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah.
Oh my
Used to
goodness.
Zoom.
You can still request a recording, because it is recorded. But I know sometimes time zones in calendars on computers don't always sync up the right way. I don't know why. I've had that challenge too sometimes. So it's not only you. It happens to me as well.
So when are you going to offer this again?
Well, I don't know when it's in the schedule again, to be honest. I look at my schedule like one day at a time.
All right.
No.
I'm really disappointed, but
Yeah. Well, I love your virtual background though. I like the dinner party. Okay, you're gonna invite everybody over for dinner someday.
It's a Seder.
Okay. It is. Yes, it is. I recognize it. Okay. Well, take care, and we'll see you again soon. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Oh, bye now.
Hello, Bob. Hello, Bob.
Bye,
I'm
bye.
on a
Rita.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah. Who's talking?
Yeah, I'm on a phone because I could not get you on my tablet.
Okay.
I did register before because I always check the schedule. The invitation came on a tablet, but I couldn't get you on my tablet at all. So I decided to use the phone, but I told them the phone number that they have given is not toll free. So I'm using another phone number for Zoom, and it comes from the So, but that number that they've printed, it's definitely not.
I'm not the expert in logging into meetings for Zoom, but if you send an email, they will even set up a one-on-one session with you. So if you send an email to help@getsetup.io and tell them you could not get into the Zoom meeting, they'll help you out. Okay.
Oh, you don't have You don't have an IT on you with you today?
I'm sorry?
You don't have a tech with you today? A technician with you today?
Well, we're just about wrapping up the meeting. It's better to probably to schedule a one-on-one. We don't have your user information, I don't think, because you're on your phone. But if you send an email to help@getsetup.io, it's better to schedule that type of support call because then they can spend some time with you to work on the issue. Okay.
Yeah, okay, because they both of them are Androids, and you were talking about things that I didn't know about, so I wanted to hear, at least listen to, to understand a little bit, because I really, really wanted to get on this class, really.
And you can request a recording as well and watch it, at your leisure too. Okay.
Oh, at my leisure? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can request a recording. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io and said, I'd like to get a link to the recording of the session on all about web browsers, and they'll send you a link. And also I'd recommend sending a separate email requesting a help at getting on in the class, because tell them you couldn't get into the class and you need help with your setup. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Take care.